Welcome to the Deep Dive Library, where we dissect the world's most powerful books, chapter by chapter.
In each episode, we break down key ideas, lessons, and strategies you can apply today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you want to unlock real knowledge, actionable insights, hit that subscribe button now. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming.
Like this video if you're ready to level up, and definitely comment with your thoughts.
Let's dive in and transform your mind together. Today, we're tackling Brian Tracy's No Excuses, The Power of Self-Discipline.
Right, we're going to unpack why some people, consistently achieve their goals while others just seem to fall short.
And what role does self-discipline really play in that? It's maybe more surprising than you think.
Our goal isn't just to understand Tracy's ideas, but to pull out things you can actually use. Like right now, to start moving towards what you want.
Okay, so Tracy kicks things off with this concept. Someday I'll.
Ah, yes, someday I'll. It's striking how direct he is. It's this mental place, right, where we park our ambitions.
And surround them with excuses, like a fortress of reasons not to act.
Exactly. We postpone things. Someday I'll start that business. Someday I'll get fit.
And Tracy lists the common excuses, doesn't he? Things like, oh, I had an unhappy childhood, or I didn't get enough education.
Lack of money, tough boss, bad marriage.
Feeling unappreciated, the economy's terrible. It's a whole catalog.
It really is. And he calls this the disease of excusitis.
Excusitis, I like that term.
He argues it's, pretty much fatal to achieving anything significant.
So what's the cure then?
His first step is blunt. Vote yourself off the island.
Yeah.
Just decide, no more excuses, period.
Easier said than done sometimes though, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But he offers a simple test for an excuse's validity.
Which is?
Basically, look around. Are there other people out there with the same excuse, maybe even worse circumstances, who are actually succeeding?
So if someone else overcame it, maybe the excuse isn't the real barrier.
Precisely. It shifts the focus back internally, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Away from the external circumstance and towards your own response.
Yeah, it does. And Tracy even uses his own story, which makes it hit home.
Right. He talks about starting with very little, no high school diploma, doing labor jobs.
But then he asks himself that key question. Why are some people more successful than others?
And that question, he says, changed everything for him. It put him on a path of learning and, crucially, taking responsibility.
Which leads perfectly into the next big idea, the absolute importance of self-discipline.
Yes, he sees it as the foundation.
Yeah.
He mentions meeting Kottmeyer,
who shared Albert Hubbard's definition, which is,
self-discipline is the ability to do what you should do, when you should do it, whether you feel like it or not.
wow, that cuts right through it. No wiggle room there.
None at all. It's not about waiting for inspiration or the right mood.
It's a conscious choice, even when it's tough, even when you'd rather do anything else.
And Tracy's point is critical. Without this self-discipline, all the other success tips and tricks, they just won't stick. It's the bedrock.
Okay, so if self-discipline is the bedrock, what are the things trying to crack it? He talks about enemies within, right?
He does. Two big ones. The path of least resistance and the expediency factor.
The easy way out, the path of least resistance. We all feel that pull, don't we? The shortcut, sleeping in, putting things off.
Absolutely. And the expediency factor is closely related. It's choosing what's fastest and easiest right now.
Like grabbing junk food because it's quick, instead of making a healthy meal. Instant gratification.
Exactly. Without thinking about the long-term consequences. Tracy paints it as this internal battle.
The angel and the devil on your shoulders.
Sort of. The angel urging you towards what's right may be hard, but necessary for your goals.
And the devil whispering, come on, this is fun, it's easy, it doesn't matter that much.
Right. And winning that battle requires constant vigilance, constant self-discipline.
So self-discipline is really self-mastery then, controlling those impulses.
That's a huge part of it. Self-mastery over emotions, appetites, inclinations. And self-control, steering your actions towards your long-term goals.
And sometimes self-denial, saying no to the easy pleasure now for a bigger reward later.
Delayed gratification, that's the core skill.
Why is that so hard for us, do you think? Delaying gratification.
Well, our brains are often wired for immediate rewards. It takes conscious effort to focus on something further out, something more abstract.
Which brings us to long-term thinking. He talks about a study, right? Dr. Banfield.
Yes, Dr. Edward Banfield's 50-year Harvard study. 50 years.
Incredible. And the main finding?
The most important predictor of upward mobility and success was what he called long-time perspective.
Thinking about the future consequences of your present actions.
Exactly. Successful people, Tracy argues, are long-term thinkers. They plan years, even decades ahead.
Across all areas, work, money, relationships.
Yes. They're constantly asking, how does what I'm doing today fit into the future I want?
And this involves sacrifice, doesn't it? Giving things up now for later gain.
It often does. That Longfellow quote Tracy uses is perfect. Those heights by great men won and kept were not achieved by sudden flight.
But they, while their companions slept, were toiling upward in the night. It speaks to that consistent, often unseen effort.
It really does. And the good news is, this long-term thinking isn't fixed. It's a skill you can develop.
So the more you practice looking ahead, the better you get at predicting outcomes.
That's the idea. And the flip side, the lack of long-term thinking leads to problems. Tracy mentions the laws of consequences.
Unintended consequences.
Right, acting quickly without enough thought, and then bam, unexpected negative results down the line.
We've all been there. The quick fix that backfires.
And then there's the law of perverse consequences.
Where trying to get that immediate gratification actually leads to the opposite of what you wanted.
Precisely. Like splurging for instant happiness, but ending up stressed about debt later.
So self-discipline and long-term thinking kind of act as a buffer against those negative outcomes.
They force you to pause, to consider the bigger picture, which leads nicely into Herbert Gray's study.
The common denominator of success. What was that?
After 11 years of research, Gray found that successful people make a habit of doing things that failures don't like to do.
Okay. But here's the kicker, Tracy adds, right?
Yeah, the successful people don't necessarily like doing those things either.
Huh. So it's not about enjoyment.
Not primarily. It's about the result. Successful people do the hard things because they're focused on the pleasing results those actions bring.
Whereas unsuccessful people focus more on pleasing methods, doing what feels easy or comfortable right now.
Dennis Waitley echoes this. Top performers focus on goal-achieving activities, even the unpleasant ones. Average performers focus on tension-relieving, immediately pleasurable activities.
It's that consistent choice, important versus convenient.
Exactly. And Tracy connects this directly to character development.
How so? How does self-discipline and character link up?
He sees self-discipline as the engine that builds character over time. Character, he defines, is doing what's right, good, and necessary.
Regardless of how you feel.
Right. It involves honesty, integrity, telling the truth, the foundations of trust.
And trust and respect, as he points out, are like currency in life, aren't they? They open doors.
Absolutely critical. He quotes Emerson about the sacred integrity of your own mind. Every choice reflects your true values.
So character, built by discipline, becomes your shield against temptation, against taking the easy road.
It's your bulwark. And the payoff is huge. Self-esteem, respect from others, better opportunities.
Yeah.
Aristotle believed societal progress starts with character development in the young.
That really highlights the broader importance. Role models become key to them.
Definitely. And consciously choosing to act in line with your highest values. He even brings in Kant's categorical imperative.
Act as though your every act would become a universal law. That's a high bar.
It's a powerful guide for ethical choices. In the two wolves story, you feed the wolf, you want to grow stronger. The positive virtues or the negative ones.
Okay, so discipline builds character. What about discipline and responsibility?
Another crucial link. Responsibility, for Tracy, means accepting total ownership. Your life, your choices, your results, they're on you.
Moving away from blaming external stuff, the boss, the economy, whatever, and looking inward.
It's that powerful shift when you can genuinely say, I am responsible.
Tracy's own story about taking charge of his career really illustrates that moment of realization. Before that, you can feel like life just happens to you.
Right. And avoiding responsibility. That leads to complaining, blaming, that excusitis again. It blocks happiness and success.
It's easy to fall into that trap, though. Sometimes we're almost trained not to take responsibility from childhood.
True. It requires a conscious decision to break that pattern. Focus on solutions, not blame. Where can you make a difference?
That makes sense. Spending energy on blame gets you nowhere.
Exactly. Which brings us to goals. Jim Rohn said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment.
You need the discipline to actually cross that bridge.
You do. And you need a destination. Clear, written goals. Tracy says you can't hit a target you can't see.
Sounds obvious, but the stats he quotes are wild. Only about 3% of adults have written goals.
Something like that. And that 3% apparently earns significantly more than the other 97% combined.
Wow. That really shows the difference between just hoping or wishing and actually defining what you want and writing it down.
There's power in writing it down. He mentions a study on New Year's resolutions, writing them down. boosted success rates dramatically, like from 4% to 44% or something similar.
He calls writing a psychoneuromotor activity, like the physical act itself locks it into your brain somehow.
It creates commitment. And his point is stark. Either work on your own goals or you'll end up working to achieve someone else's.
Food for thought. And he talks about the brain having success and failure mechanisms.
Yeah, the failure mechanism is like the default seeking comfort, the easy path. The success mechanism needs to be activated.
And goals are the key that turns it on.
Exactly. Goals give your brain a target, a direction. It mobilizes your resources.
The story of his client who massively increased their income after a goal-setting seminar really drives that home.
It does. Tracy references Aristotle. Again, humans are teleological, meaning purpose-driven. We need goals for fulfillment and control, like a homing pigeon needs a target.
So how do you set effective goals? He has steps, right?
7 key steps. Start with desire. You have to really want it. Then belief. You have to believe it's possible for you.
Then write it down. Clear, specific, measurable.
Analyze your starting point. Where are you now? Why do you want it? It lists the benefits. What are the obstacles?
What knowledge or skills do you need? Whose help will you require?
And finally, develop a plan. Break it down into steps. And crucially, review your goals daily.
Daily review. Keeps it top of mind. He also mentions a major definite purpose, like one big overarching goal.
Yeah, your main driving ambition. And that mindstorming technique sounds useful too.
Writing down 20 answers to how can I achieve my most important goal forces you to think beyond the obvious.
Exactly. Gets the creative juices flowing. It all ties back to cause and effect your thoughts, create your reality. And that famous Napoleon Hill quote,
"Whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve." Powerful stuff.
which leads us to the final piece, self-discipline and personal excellence.
Right. Back to Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit.
It's about continuous improvement. You are your most valuable asset, Tracy says. Your job is to increase your value.
He talks about Kaizen, that Japanese idea of constant incremental improvement.
And warns against complacency. What got you here won't get you any further. You have to keep growing.
Especially now. He points out that knowledge and skill are the keys in the 21st century. Mental fitness needs constant work, just like physical fitness.
He uses Lincoln's quote, "The fact that some have become wealthy is proof that others may do it as well." Believing it's possible is step 1.
And realizing that most important skills can actually be learned. You just have to decide to become excellent.
And then learn from the best. Follow the leaders, not the followers. Your reference group matters hugely. Dr. McClellan's research showed that.
The story about Bob Barton copying top salespeople and rocketing his own success is a great example.
Find out what successful people do and do those things. And don't be afraid to ask. Successful people often want to help, but you got to ask and then follow the advice.
Set high income goals, he says. Learn what you need to learn. Do what you need to do.
And invest in yourself, that 3% formula. Reinvesting 3% of your income back into your own development.
The story of the guy in Detroit who did that consistently and became a millionaire is really inspiring.
It shows the power of lifelong learning. The 3 core habits. Read 60 minutes a day in your field.
Listen to educational audio in the car, exercising.
And attend courses and seminars. The compound effect over years is enormous.
He estimates mastery takes about 7 years or 10,000 hours. Talent isn't enough.
Right, like Jeffrey Colvin argued in Talent is Overrated. It's about deliberate practice, hard work.
Tracy even calculates that just 2 extra hours of focused work or learning each day can take you from average to the top 10%.
It's about forming the habit of continuous learning. Maybe cut back on TV, use that time more productively.
He wraps up with that 1000% formula, a whole list of daily disciplines.
Waking up early, reviewing goals, planning the day, concentrating, listening to audio, asking those 2 magic questions about making better use of time and most valuable use of time.
Treating everyone well. It emphasizes small, consistent actions adding up over time. The law of accumulation.
Exactly. Incremental improvements lead to massive results eventually.
So we've covered a lot from no excuses. It's clear self-discipline isn't about punishment, is it? It's about freedom.
It's about unlocking your potential, taking control of where your life is heading.
So let's bring it back to you, the listener. Think about someday I'll. We talked about it earlier. Where might you be lingering?
What's one small step, something concrete you could do today to start voting yourself off that island?
And what about long-term thinking? Pick one key goal you have right now. How could applying a longer time perspective change how you approach it?
What sacrifices might be worth making in the short term for that bigger future reward?
Remember Herbert Gray's finding. Successful people do the stuff failures don't like doing, even if they don't like doing it either.
What's one valuable, maybe slightly unpleasant action you could commit to doing consistently this week?
And finally, personal excellence, that ongoing journey. What's your 3% investment in yourself going to look like this year? How will you commit to continuous learning?
We really hope you'll reflect on these ideas. Pick one or two that really hit home for you. Don't just think about them.
Try them out, experiment, see what difference they make in your own life.
This deep dive really highlights how foundational self-discipline is for pretty much everything else.
Absolutely. If you found this useful, please share it with someone else who might benefit, and we'd love to hear from you.
What are your thoughts on self-discipline? Where are you applying it, or where do you struggle? Let us know in the comments.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into powerful ideas designed to help you transform your life.